This is Carter Peaslee, and you're listening to the Down on Washington podcast.
Well, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. I appreciate y'all having me. It's always been a goal to get on a podcast somehow.
Well, here you go, man. This is our first one. I think it's gonna be pretty big, man. We're gonna try and do some big stuff. So,
Dude, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad y'all are letting me be a part of it.
yeah, thanks, man. So, man, let's just dive right in if you're okay.
Yeah, dude, let's do it.
I had my music on shuffle and I heard that, Dominoes and Rosary song, and that caught my attention right off the bat, man. The vocals, and then I was like, man, who is this guy? I gotta hear some more of this, and that's why I dived into your EP. But kind of what made you write the Dominoes and Rosary song?
Man, I was just getting into songwriting. I was still real green with everything. And I grew up I grew up in the Catholic church as a kid and going with my buddies. That's in a small West Texas town. It's where y'all went. And then, man, we weren't there. I remember being at the ranch house and always playing dominoes. And I wanted to write a breakup song and I wanted to be different. And, I was like, hell, you could take every part of me. Just leave me the two things I know best, man.
Well,
And
I
that's kind of how we got the idea for it.
I totally get that, man. My grandpa passed away about a year ago, and that was like the one thing I wanted was his dominoes, because just always remember
Oh, yeah.
sitting around the kitchen table playing dominoes when you're a kid. So
Oh, yeah. That's it. It's a big memory of mine growing up. And spent
yeah,
my dad to this day is still a big dominoes guy. And
yeah.
so it's like, yeah, that's kind of got the whole gist of it. And then I just sat down and I tried to write it and I couldn't. I had just had the title for like a month, and then finally I was just sitting there and it just all came to me in about 5 minutes and wrote it down. And yeah, it's a pretty fun one. I like it. It's definitely one of my favorite ones I've written.
Was that really the fifth take on the EP? Because at the start, you hear,
Yeah, what it was is it was my first time in the studio. I had never played to a click. I had no musical background. I mean, we got in the studio and I knew like four chords, and I could never come in right on the click with the right part of the song. And I said it just being a smart ass to my producer, and he's like, "Dude,
Mhm.
I love it. We're gonna leave it in. We'll just leave it
Nice.
there."
Nice. Well, it turned out good, man. That was a good entry point for me personally, and I bet for a lot of other people too to like get into the EP. Hey, I'm
Oh
glad.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Oh no, I was saying, yeah, man. That's I know that's he liked that a lot, and that's he talked me into leaving it, and I was like, hell yeah.
No, I think it added something for sure. Hey, I'm glad you mentioned West Texas. So, like, West Texas seems like it's having a moment right now in the scene. Like there's been a ton of artists. Obviously, they've either came from West Texas or maybe were from elsewhere in Texas, but like really made a name in West Texas in the last 10, 20 years. But like right now with, Flatland and Drop Tines and I know Shane Smith can't coming up out there and being
Oh
mega
yeah.
mega huge now. I mean, how does it feel to have your name mentioned potentially in that line of like these artists that are coming up through West Texas and really just blowing up the scene lately?
Man, it's surreal. It really is. I grew up listening to them all. I like I said, I didn't really have a music background when I got into this, but I just loved the music as a kid. And that's like definitely like Shane Smith and the Saints. I found them when All I See Is You came out in like 2015, and a lot of those guys I've been on forever. And even having my name kind of in that category with them is just surreal to me.
Yeah, I bet, man. Well, one thing that's really cool too about this scene of like this Texas country and red dirt Okie music is artists always paying tribute to like the artists that came before them. So, like, I know I've heard reference to Robert Earl Keen in at least one of your songs, maybe another one too. And so, just that's always super cool to see in our scene, right? When like
Oh
people,
yeah, dude, that's you always got to pay tribute to the greats, man. He definitely was a big reason I wanted to get into songwriting.
yeah.
I know my dad was real big on him. I heard him through his speakers all the time and
Yeah.
grew up on that Gringo Honeymoon album, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a good one. Hey, you've got a new single coming out here in about 2 weeks or something, right? The first week in November, or is it out now?
Yeah, I'm shooting for November 9th. It may get pushed back a week. I'm having trouble getting an album cover. That's the only thing. I've had that song done for months and I was waiting on licensing. It's actually a Reckless Kelly song. It's a cover.
No way. What song is it?
Crazy Eddie's Last Hurrah.
Oh, okay, perfect. That's a
Yeah, we
classic.
kind of we went in and did it our own. Caleb Jones, he was a drummer for Treaty Oak Revival for a while.
Mhm.
He drummed and produced it for me, and then we got Jared Fuchs for Giovanni and the Hired Guns to hop on lead guitar.
Wow.
And man, we made it a more modern day rock song, but
Mhm.
tried to kind of keep that Reckless Kelly vibe in it.
Mhm.
But I think it's going to be pretty cool, man. I've got a lot of good feedback from it.
Wow. Well, that's super cool, man. Reckless is taking a break from the road, it sounds like, at the end of this year. And so to see like new artists paying, respects to them is super cool. And for a lot of people that are a little bit older, like me, the way that we found Reckless Kelly was through Cross Canadian's cover of that song. That's how when I was in college, I heard Crazy Eddie's Last Hurrah covered by Cross Canadian. And they mentioned this is a Reckless Kelly song. And that was like my entry point into that whole world of Reckless Kelly and Mickey and the Motor Cars and stuff. So,
No, I really didn't. I don't get me wrong. I've heard it on that live album. They did it. Billy Bob's there 100 times. I'm a big
yep,
cross Canadian guy. And I didn't
yep,
even think about it. One day I went living in San Angelo and I was driving around with my buddy. And he was just like, "Hey, how come you never play me this song?" And it was Crazy Eddie's Last Hero. I was like, "I've never even heard that song, but
yeah,
I'm gonna learn it now for sure." And then it just one of those songs I never got out of my head. It was just
yeah.
constantly playing, and I was like, "Why not just cover it?" I've always singing it to myself. Might as well just cover it.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. I can't wait to hear that come out too. You said you had the guitarist from Giovanni and the Hired Guns on lead, and then the producer was the former drummer for Treaty Oak. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. And then he also drummed on it as well. He did
Nice.
like I don't know what songs he did because I know he did like Haunted House with them and a few of the other ones. He's the guy drumming on that. But yeah, man. I think it came out to be a pretty cool song.
Nice. Are you excited about the cross Canadian reunion? I mean, it's kind of all anyone's talking about right now here.
Oh man, it's insane. I was getting it real firsthand. We were in the studio. I have a new producer now. His name's Caleb Churchill.
Mhm.
He's the bassist for the Mike McClure band.
Okay.
And I was in the studio when they announced those new dates, and we were just watching it. He was like, dude, we were sitting there, and he's like, I'm playing a second day. I didn't even know, you know? And then
Yeah.
they added the 2 more days, and he was like, this is insane. Like,
Yeah.
and then he was telling me all the ticket sales and everything going on. I was like,
Yeah.
it's gonna shatter records in Oklahoma.
It is, man. And Shatter Records nationally. I saw
Oh yeah.
something on Rolling Stone the other day that, I mean, Coachella is like 200,000 people a day for a couple days, and this is 200 over 4 days. I mean, so it's up there with some of the biggest music festivals of the year across any genre. So,
Oh yeah. And I could be totally wrong, but I believe he said like in the waiting queue, not even the buying ticket, just to get in the waiting line. It's like 200,000 plus just to get in
yeah.
the waiting line. It
Yeah.
was insane.
Yeah, they had enough for a few additional shows beyond the four that sold out. So a lot of the stuff I've seen, which is crazy, because like everyone knew that there'd be excitement, but like nobody knew there'd be that kind of excitement.
Oh, yeah, that's when they came back. I mean, that's we were like, this is gonna be awesome. But I guess I didn't realize the magnitude that they had on the music scene. I guess thinking that they were older, a lot of people my age probably doesn't really know who to. No, they announced it and it was everyone went insane.
Do you think with younger people that Co-Song had anything to do with it? Because it seemed like a lot of younger folks never heard of Ragweed until Co, and then went and like looked them up because of that song.
I actually do know a few people that were like, that's how they got introduced to it. And I always felt stupid. I loved that song for like a year, and I didn't even realize when he said I miss ragweed.
Mhm.
It like finally clicked to me after like a year. I was like, wow, that's how did I not even notice that? And I've
Yeah,
always loved that song too. But no,
yeah,
I know a couple guys. They were like, yeah, I know the band from the Co song, and I'm like, well, technically, yeah,
yeah.
but they're a lot more than that.
Yeah, man, that's super cool. It's also super cool to see the trajectory of like how artists influence other artists, and like, like a lot of people say, maybe well, Evan Felker, for example, from the Turnpike says that he learned to play harmonica by listening to Cross Canadian, to Cody Canada playing Brooklyn Kid over and over. And so, a lot of people are like, well, maybe if it wasn't for Turnpike, or was it for Cross Canadian, maybe we wouldn't have Turnpike. If it wasn't for Great Divide,
Oh,
maybe we wouldn't have Cross
that's
Canadian, you
no,
know?
that's a huge staple, and that's I guess like it's when you get in the music scene, it's like a spider web, and more connect, the more you put pieces
Yeah,
together. That's like I got to know Mike McClure there for a minute, and
yeah.
he was just we just sitting in his garage talking, and he was telling me about working with Turnpike,
Yeah.
uh, Whiskey Myers, doing all those guys' first albums, and man, it influence is crazy where people draw it from and where it all comes from.
Yeah, a ton of artists have cut their first thing, with Mike. And if you look, a lot of Red Dirt artists trace back to Great Divide and back to Mike as like a starting point for getting into music, in the scene. So,
Oh yeah, no, that's I Mike. I mean, Mike's the Godfather of Red Dirt. Is what a
yep.
lot of people told me. I believe him 100%.
Yeah. Well, hey man, we talked about your single coming up and we'll keep an eye out for that. That's really exciting. But what else are you excited about coming up? You got any shows or going back in the studio, anything that you're just excited about coming up here
Man,
soon?
man, we've just been booking it lately. I just actually got back. I do all my recording in Norman, Oklahoma, and I just got back like last week. We've just been in there a lot lately. We did I did a little 7 song project with Mike McClure and Caleb Churchram, and it's a little singer songwriter. We strayed away from the whole rock and roll thing, and
Hmm.
maybe someday it'll see the light of day. Maybe I'll put it in the back pocket. But then I just went back and we did a whole you're more rock and roll, kind of like that first EP, that heavy rock sound in there. We kind of rolled more with that and try to go back in February and do 5 or 6 more and spit out an album at some point. But
Hmm.
we've just been maybe living in that studio lately, or at least writing songs to get back to it.
Yeah. I know you mentioned we've talked about a lot of other artists obviously already, and you mentioned like growing up listening to Robert Earl Keen and stuff with your dad, but like what are some like current artists that you feel like maybe have an influence on your sound and if you hear someone hear a sound that you're like, okay, I might take a piece of that. I like that. I want to make my sound kind of like that. Like who would some of those artists be?
Man, obviously, growing up with a dad in the oil field and being around there, I draw a lot from Trudy Oak Revival, especially growing up right down the road. I was in Midland all the time in high school.
Mhm.
I draw a big influence from them, and you could definitely hear it in a lot of the sounds. And then like other guys, I know one guy that I just love his songwriting, and I've grown up on. I say grown up on, but listened to the last few years is Colby Cooper. I'm a big Colby Cooper guy. And just I mean, just stuff like that. I take from everybody. I listen to everything. I listen. My playlist is gonna go from Blink 182 to George Jones real quick, and I just listen to everybody, and I try to take the best parts of everyone's music, really.
How did you start? I know you mentioned when you went into the studio the first time, you knew about four chords and no click track experience, but how did you, what was the trigger that flipped with you to say, okay, I'm going to try and pursue this music thing. Like I might be able to do this like for a job, full time.
Well, man, I guess it was all in like a span of like 24 hours. We had already released that EP, and I was just doing it for beer money, really. Just playing little acoustic gigs here and there. And then my stepmom called me one day, and she was like, "Hey, this lady wants to know if you'll open for some guy at the park." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I guess, whatever." And my parents live 2 hours away, so I drove down early and got lunch with my parents and stuff. And while we were eating lunch. I made a TikTok that morning because I'd say you got to do it these days of a song called Limestone Kid. It had just taken off that morning. Sorry, do good. And distribution company Alamo Records.
Hmm.
They got guys like Sterling Elza, Blake Baker Blankenship, all those guys. They hit me up and were like, "Hey, we'd love to work with you." And that's when I was like, oh, maybe this is what I could do. And then I go to the park after and I ended up opening for Mike McClure, and that's afterwards he came and found me, and he's like, "Dude, I love your originals, and I want to get back into producing. Let's work out some stuff." And I guess going home that night, that's when I was like, "Dude, this could be a job. I mean, if I really tried, I could try to at least and at least give it a shot."
That's crazy, man. How long ago was that this happened? What
Man,
you
that
just
would have been back in April or May.
Okay. And relatively recently, did you know it was Mike you were opening up for before you went or?
No, I had no idea. My stepmom was just like, this lady Facebooked me, and I don't
Hmm.
know why she Facebooked me and not you, but she just asked if your stepson want to open for this guy at the park. And she just said this guy, no context or nothing.
That's
And then he
classic,
walked
man.
up, and I like acted like I wasn't gonna fangirl. I was like, oh shit, that's a Mike McClure. Okay, this is I gotta actually try now. I gotta
Yeah.
take this real serious.
Dang, that's crazy, man. And then I guess that kind of sparked the relationship for you recording with him and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's afterwards he came and I mean we talked before and all that, and I mean he's a great guy. If you I mean if you ever talk to Mike, anyone will tell you he's just a great guy. And he's trading stories and stuff, and afterwards he came and found me. He's like, dude, I loved your originals you were playing up there. And, you just had a fun set. Like, I want to get into producing again. Come
Mhm.
out to my house and got a little studio in the garage, and we'll see what we can cook up.
Wow. What a compliment too, man, to have someone as legendary as that come up and say that, they appreciate what you're doing as a new artist.
Oh man, it sent me over the moon for months, man. I just always had a smile on my face after. So, I mean, that's the coolest thing that could ever happen.
Man, that's awesome. Well, hey, shifting gears on you a little bit, man. I know you mentioned a couple other kind of new artists, but who are some of those other new and upcoming artists in the scene that maybe people haven't heard about yet that they should be paying attention to?
Man, like I said, I listen to all sorts of genres, so I've made buddies in all fields.
Mhm.
I know like some of the guys that I'm real big on is that Baker Blankenship kid out of Nashville. He's
Mhm.
getting pretty good. Man, or you can even go more underground with it. Like I got a buddy Tristan Graves out of Lubbock who I'm probably being biased because we're best buds, but I think he's really solid, someone to check out as well. Man, I could go on and on for days. I like Hudson Westbrook a lot. I mean, he's one of those TikTok guys that's doing really good.
Mhm.
And there's some like Veed and Fox or something like that I found them on TikTok the other day. I've been
Mhm.
listening to them a ton as well.
Okay.
That's the beauty. I find all these guys on TikTok that are, they're the same boat as I am. The one guy out down the hill on though that we're like he's probably a little bit bigger than I am. I got to know him. He's a great dude too. He's Avery Stennett out of Oklahoma.
Hmm.
He's got that cross Canadian turnpike sound with a little more rock and some of the stuff.
Hmm.
He's awesome. Y'all should check him out. He's out of Oklahoma City. He's pretty
Okay.
solid too.
Yeah, we'll check him out. I think we just came across him just in the last week or two here, but some of those other ones we'll definitely have to check out, man. So that's one thing too that's really cool about this scene and is well, two things. One is the influence from all the other, different genres that you can always hear a little bit of influence in this kind of music. But then also just like the stream of up and coming talent, it just never ends, man. It just keeps coming and coming.
Oh,
So,
there's always somebody new with something cool
yeah,
going on, man. That's the
yeah.
best thing about music.
Yeah, and you mentioned it too, man. But the beauty of social media is artists can get out to people now, and you cut out the middleman. 20 years ago, it wasn't like that. You had to have the label, you had to have the management. You know what I mean? And now, if
Oh
you're
yeah.
if you're talented, you go straight to the source of the listener and cut out all the label crap in the middle, basically.
Oh man, yeah, no, that's like I'd sign to my I'd say not label but distribution label. I signed with them from doing music on my back porch. I made a TikTok and
Yep.
they were like, "Dude, we love it.
Yeah.
Let's work something out, man." It's you have the world in the palm of your hand with the phone, and it's the
Yeah.
craziest thing.
Yeah. Well, tell us, man. I know you guys been hitting the road a lot, especially in West Texas, right? But tell us kind of what the next like month or two is looking like, or if you got any bigger shows coming up that you're looking forward to.
Man, we do our first headline full band headlining show November 8th. It will be at the Garden in Lubbock, Texas.
Okay.
Right across the street from Blue Light. And then we're hopping next morning, we're loading up and hauling down to Lukenbach. We're playing the main stage outdoor with my buddy Devin Michaels. And then we'll be in New Braunfels the following week. We got a show in Del Rio. And then damn, where are we else? We're in Odessa for a private gig, and then I'm trying. I have it all written down somewhere, but we're booked every weekend. I think next weekend I have off, and then after that it's show every weekend in the year, except for the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We all got Thanksgiving stuff going on, so we'll go see the family and all that. But other
Hmm.
than that, we're playing somewhere.
That's awesome, man. Hopefully we can get you up towards Oklahoma soon too. So
That's the
start.
goal. I think we're gonna try to go to Oklahoma in the spring. My band, I'm the only. I mean, we're all doing music, but like my guys, they all work in the oil field or
Yeah.
wind turbine related, and so I can't just be like, hey, let's pile in the truck and go play 8 hours away in 2 days. We
Yep.
kind of got to plan a little more accordingly, but hopefully that's the goal. Is we want to do like a short little Oklahoma tour, jump around to Stillwater, Tulsa, Norman, hit the bigger towns, and just put our foot in the door out that way.
Nice. I like that, man. Well, before we wrap up here, man, anything else you want to cover that we haven't covered yet?
Man, I think we've been hitting all the spots, I think, but yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, to our listeners, go check out Avery Stennett out of Oklahoma. Check out some of those other new bands that Carter mentioned. And then we'll be looking for that new single around November 9th.
Yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate y'all having me out.
Okay. Thanks, Carter.
Yes, sir. Thank you.